All right, well, I show 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We could call roll.
Pansy.
Here.
Turner.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Buxton.
Here.
Washburn.
Yes, here. Okay, recognition of visitors. Joe Don Dunham with the city, Nancy Willis, Shelley Wallace, and Lynn Martin. Let's move on to the minutes from the previous meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Roll call vote.
Pansy.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Washburn.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Buxton.
Yes.
Okay. Number 5, the city council report.
I was unable to attend the last city council meeting. I don't know if Joe Don has anything. The only thing I would have is if there's anything happening with the county.
Well,
we don't know about
we'll
here.
talk. I guess we can talk about that here probably in a little bit. But yeah, they're working on the project down here. They ran into some unsuitable dirt that had to be excavated. Upon that, we had to purchase some a mat to go down over after they excavated the unsuitable dirt. A mat that went down. It's kind of like a burlap bag. They got everything dug out. The mat will go down tomorrow. The city had to haul in 290 tons of rock to go on that. It's staged down at the rec center right now. So tomorrow, when they're rolling out the mat, the city will be hauling in rock to place on that mat, so that the construction company can come back in and pour their concrete over it. I believe since the last meeting, the city has been out and sealed the cracks around the South Share hangar. And then at the most recent council meeting, the city council did approve a training manual for the city councilmen and board members. And we will be bringing out and hopefully holding a training session with the airport over just the airport training manual, and so that we can roll that out to everybody here at the same time. But that's in the final stages of development. I just couldn't get it all put together before tonight's meeting. And I think that's about all that we've been working on to date. I know that they should be rolling out the mat tomorrow morning, and we'll be pulling that rock in tomorrow morning. That should be all done by around noon or so.
So is that additional cost, the rock and the mat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a figure on that yet?
The rock was about $21.89 a ton. And the mat, I do not have a cost on that yet. That was purchased through the engineers.
So 290 tons.
Did you Garver?
Garver, yes.
Okay.
But that will be part of it all goes toward the project, and can be reimbursable, but as the project moves forward, it will be counted as part of the cost of the project.
Unsuitable dirt, what does that mean?
It wouldn't compact well enough to pour the concrete over, so it had to be excavated completely out.
And you put the rock down, then what comes?
Concrete.
Oh, well, you don't have to. Okay.
Right.
That unsuitable dirt is there where the drainage
Yeah, down
Used to
close to
be.
that drainage area.
Well, that's where the drain used to be before it was moved.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
It was just filled in and with whatever dirt was there.
Oh, okay. I didn't
And
realize
that's-
it used to be another
And yeah, that's why that dirt's unsuitable. And it's gonna be that way whenever they build a building on top of it too. So there'll be down the road.
I wondered about
Is
that.
that everything?
That's everything.
All right, we'll move on to number 6, the manager's report. Greg?
Airport had a really good month last month for fuel sales, total $19,915.05. That's up from previous month of $15,626.11. I just had a short blurb about the taxiway project, which Joe Don covered most of that, just that the county had started the dirt work on the 20th. I wanted to thank the city for the crack sealing around the South Shore hangar. I'm sure everyone probably noticed the sprinkler system's been installed around the airport terminal, with the exception of tying it into the water line. I believe that Russell is going to come out and tie in for that. I wanted to go over a little bit on the Jet A truck. I've been having some problems with it. It needs a new servo that controls the pressure on the fueling system. And that servo cost about $1,500, plus about $400 to have someone come put it on and calibrate it. I've got a mechanic scheduled to come and do that work tomorrow. What's happened is the servo is on a valve. I'm not sure if it's a valve or what. It's on the line that comes back from the tank to the pump, and it controls that pressure, and it's leaking by. So fuel's getting into the air system back there. We've rebuilt that servo 3 or 4 times already, and it's still doing it. So I think just replacing that servo with a new one should cure the problem. I just wanted to bring that up because of the expense and the fact that we've rebuilt that servo several times. It doesn't seem to be working. Also, I've got some new information from a group in Colorado that asked to be considered for the T hangars. He said if you're just going to go with the cheapest bid, that they're probably not the company for you. But I wanted to present this information. You all can look at it. I would have to get the exact dimensions to get a quote from them, which I do have from the previous quote that Terry had got.
Do we have any Oklahoma companies that build hangars, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I didn't know of any, but I just,
There are. There'll be several. Whether or not they want to build a building in Alva is going to be the issue.
I'd say,
And any metal building contractor could do a hangar. It's just getting if they're wanting to travel to Alva
I'd
from Oklahoma City or Tulsa or wherever they're at.
I'd prefer somebody with a track record
Yeah.
on hangars.
I'm not sure all of you guys have met them yet, but we do have 2 new part-time guys hired, Dylan Hatcher and William Chapman. They both seem to be working out pretty well. I've not heard any complaints about either one of them.
I think they're real good.
You've met them both?
Mhm.
Yeah, one observation, they ought to pick the trash up before they mow.
Yeah. I'll put it to them. They're mowing over trash?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all I have, Corey.
You want to talk to him a little bit about that, the sweeper that we've been talking about a little bit?
Sure, we can if you'd like to.
Yeah, why don't we just kind of get their feelings on that while they're, just as a report out of it.
Okay. Joe Don and I were discussing something along the lines of either a brush that would fit on the front of the little tractor to sweep rocks, debris, whatever, from the runways and taxiway and the ramp. Or there's a product, it's called a FOD boss that you pull behind. You can pull behind the pickup, anything like that, that collects it, and then you just dump it. It's a little bit cheaper than the roller brush. I think the roller brush was 11,000.
Yeah, we've got, the quote you gave me that on that one was 11,000.
And the
I don't remember what the,
FOD boss seemed like it was 7.
yeah, 7, something like that.
So-
One of
And
the
you
big deals was,
can get multiple ones. You can I think it's 8 foot wide, but you can hook up to 3, or you can pull 3 behind.
Those work amazingly well.
They are.
The box.
Yeah.
The brush, it doesn't collect anything, it just sweeps it.
yeah.
The other one picks it up. It's actually, looks similar to a harrow, you know, it reminds you of a harrow you pull behind a tractor, but it's flat on the bottom, it's got angles, so when it comes up and hits something, it bounces up over into a screened holding area.
Do you have that information?
I don't have, I don't got that one in my folder.
I don't think I'm trying to copy off for me either.
Yeah, I don't have that in my folder.
It's kind of a screen type. I mean, you would think it was a door or something, because it's flat, it's only a couple inches high.
I'd like to see us have something to sweep the taxiways and the ramp. I think we need something.
It would sure be a lot better than a broom.
We had
Oh, you don't have time to do it with a broom?
we had a company
Doesn't work very well either.
that loaned us a demonstrator to look at a number of years ago. And we didn't have the funds to afford it at that time, but
Which one did you think was
well,
the best?
the FOD boss that he's talking about, the mat, it's kind of a mat looking deal that you drag behind. It's not, they would wear out where they would last maybe 4 or 5 years. But
The only thing that I was worried about with the brush that we'd looked at is that it didn't collect it, it just pushed it forward. So
yeah,
you'd have to start sweeping at one end, to get all the fog off, you'd have to start sweeping at one end of the runway and go all the way to the end before you got it completely off, or sweep back and forth to the sides.
It'd be making a lot more trips, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then the other one is pulled by the could be pulled by the pickup, and wouldn't have to be pulled by a tractor, and it actually collects it. The only thing then we have is where we're gonna dispose of it once it's collected. I don't know what all gets collected, but I know there's been some issues.
It doesn't have any
Snakes.
moving parts on it at all, so there's basically no maintenance on it other than dumping it.
Is that FOD bot, like FOD?
FOD, yeah. It stands for foreign object.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
if you
It's a
had
military term.
just one spot, you could zigzag back and forth across it and pick it all up, and then you'd be done.
Okay.
I mean, it's a pretty neat deal. You haven't seen the
I'd like to see us put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
We can sure do that.
We can do that, I mean, it's not, Greg and I'll get, and we'll kind of look at how that can fit in, and if there's, what all's gonna need to be done, if we wanna try to make a purchase like that, because it wasn't part of our capital plan this year, I know.
You said it was 8 foot wide?
Huh?
You said it was 8 foot
I
wide?
think it is.
And then you hook them up in series?
You can.
Yeah, you can.
See if they've got a demonstrator they can drop off and let everybody look at.
Does it work over uneven ground, or does it have to be flat, perfectly flat? Because if you look at our taxiways,
Yeah, we've
half
got
of them are,
Well,
Ground and
it's
stuff.
flexible.
is it? Okay.
I remember it being flexible where it would work over the contours a little bit.
I'll print off some more information.
I'm just thinking, I know a lot of our taxiways are asphalt, and that's where a lot of it tends to
Mhm.
be, is around the edges of that.
Mhm.
Is that it, Greg?
I believe so.
Okay. We'll move on to number 7, discussion and possible action on the election of a chairperson as per Chapter 8, Code 2, Section 819D of the Alva City Code.
Going all volunteer at once.
I think Corey's been doing a good job of running the meetings. I would nominate Corey.
That was quick.
Huh?
Someone bring a whistle.
Well, you can nominate him for secretary.
Well, we have.
Payback.
Please do.
Please, we got a real one.
If Corey gets put on as chairman, we will have to have an election at the next meeting for the secretary, because right now he does serve as the secretary.
So, do they have to actually have a secretary since they're
I
taking
think
the
it's
minutes?
Ordinance states
Okay.
that that they're supposed to be a chairman and secretary. And we could look at the secretary as
Vice
second,
chairman.
as a second in charge type of person.
Just a
Yeah.
curious question.
Are
Yeah, we would.
Are you against doing it?
No, I'm fine with it.
I'll second his motion then.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to nominate myself for the chairperson. I guess we have a roll call vote.
Miller,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston,
Yes.
Washburn,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Is that what we say?
Whatever the case.
Item 8, discussion and possible action to move the meeting time to 6 PM for the next calendar year.
This was brought up many months ago. I know we've got a couple of new members. Paul, you probably remember bringing it up
I remember it.
because of the winter time.
I've got a meeting at 6,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
We
meet
both
very
have a meeting
often.
at 6.
He
so we'd
does
have-
also.
That would have to be changed if we move this one up.
I occasionally have school-related activities.
I work till 6. I'd have to take off early to get out here. And I don't mind doing it, but
My problem is there'd be probably 4 meetings affected by me for just school-related items.
And the only thing that I could think of that would be Mr. Miller and Mr. Turner. They both have BOA meetings at 6 o'clock tonight.
So,
They doesn't meet all the time, but when they do meet, it would be a conflict in time.
is there anybody that would be better for at 6?
Wouldn't be better for me.
Doesn't look like it would be better for anybody that's on the board currently. I think if nobody's opposed. we'll-
Except for, Paul, you say you've got stuff at, school stuff at 7?
at 6.
Oh,
At
it's 6.
See, the unpredictability of Liz's
I
job,
gotcha.
a lot of times I have to go to the activities for Spencer, and so
Oh, no,
I can't.
I thought you were saying at 7.
No, 6.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 6.
If nobody's opposed, I think we'll move on. Okay, we'll go on to item 9, discussion and vote to approve the Alva Airport courtesy car and indemnification agreement.
Well, I'll kind of take the lead in this, I guess. We have, we've been talking about over the past few meetings about a courtesy car agreement. We came up with some language that you looked at the last meeting and approved. I sent it over to the city attorney. The city attorney made some minor modifications, and that's the document that was sent out to you for this meeting. Some of the area, he just kind of changed some of the wording. I think we just had his use of airport courtesy car, and he's added in indemnification agreement, and added some language in there concerning that indemnification.
I don't care if it's in here, but there was 2 things following the, on number 7 and 8. It looked like on 6 we covered it. It says that you're required to follow all applicable laws, and then we say no consumption of alcohol or other substances. And then on 7 talk about talking or texting that they just passed along. I mean, I guess it
Well, that'd
doesn't
be
hurt
probably
anything.
fall within, all applicable laws
Yeah,
at this point.
I don't know that it serves any purpose to strike them, but it seems redundant.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the state law now, no texting and driving, so.
But I suppose it doesn't hurt to be in there either.
I mean, if you'd like to take that back and,
Well, if someone's from out of state, they might not be familiar with that new texting and driving law.
That's true.
But they're required to know the law wherever they drive.
yeah, ignorance of the law is not offense of the law.
That's what they say.
I think it's bad to leave it just to remind people.
It doesn't hurt anything, I guess.
I hate to go another month just to strike 2 items that,
There's,
they are covered in 6, but
And it's covered in 8. Drivers are to refrain. Drivers are to refrain from the use of cellular phones to talk or text message while operating the courtesy car.
That was the only
There's-
things I noticed.
you know, I missed out on the previous discussions, but there's several items. You know, fill out before prior use. If they used the car before, they shouldn't have to fill it out again. Inside the city limits, you know, I think that should be gone. You know, no more than 4 hours, I think that should be gone. Because if you come in here at night, you need to go to the motel, you're gonna have it overnight.
Oh,
we have that covered.
number
We
11.
talked about a lot of that, and it's number 11, the airport manager or the manager's designee may make accommodations for special circumstances as needed, so that as they come in and if somebody does show up at 9 o'clock and is going to the hotel, we have the ability to make the accommodations for that.
But at 9 o'clock, there's nobody here.
There wouldn't be anybody here to give them the keys anyway, so they.
Well, it's in the box.
Oh, that's true.
You know, and I've never had to fill out any form to ever use a courtesy car anywhere.
I have.
yeah, I have to.
Most all the little airports, Tulsa International, I've used courtesy cars there. They said, "Oh, here it is."
Yeah, I've had. I
You
mean,
know.
I've had more that I didn't have to fill out than I have that I have filled out,
Yeah.
but I have filled them out.
We got policies from numerous airports around the country that require, the way we came up with this agreement.
But there's some on this other sheet. There's some items there that, you know, insurance company. I have no idea what insurance company I use. My wife takes care of that. And but that's just my opinion, my input. This courtesy card should be a courtesy, not a burden for somebody to use.
I don't feel that filling this out would be that big of a burden to require. I mean, if I was going somewhere and go to Sundance and they make you fill out several pages and
Get a
It's
it's
copy
not a
of your
burden,
driver's
it's just, hey, we
license.
need to make a copy of your driver's license, fill this out and sign it real quick, and you do it, and they hand you the keys to the Range Rover and you go.
Yeah, but you leave a airplane
Yeah.
for the use of the car, so if something happens, they have your airplane.
But-
Use the airplane for collateral. But,
Kind of like the example you used earlier, though. If they were coming at 9 o'clock at night, nobody's here.
yeah,
They wreck it and leave at 6 before he comes in. You don't have the airplane.
but there's no document that will cover everything.
Oh,
There will always be something come
Sure.
up. It just, any lawyer will tell you, anybody can sue you for anything.
I'd like to see something done. This does seem pretty extensive, but
Is everybody aware of what we do right now with the courtesy car?
no.
I've got a logbook, I take the date, their name, their tail number, and a phone number, make sure they have a driver's license. That's currently what we do.
So it's basically this information here that you're taking already.
Generally, you know, if someone wants to use it after hours, they notify me.
They've called.
I did notice one place says the undersigned and all, we're not asking for a signature, we're just asking for their name and address. Do we need to have a signature line?
I'm not sure.
Well, this is the document that you have is the document as it was modified by the city attorney.
Well, they fill out their name.
I guess if you fill it out, that's,
Either right, they're signing it, aren't they?
yeah, I don't know, I'm just thinking there's no signature line.
One question I did have, if you decide to implement it, I have people that use the car regularly, like once a week or so. They don't need to fill this out every time, do they?
No, I think you just need to have one on
Keep
file.
it
Just
on
one,
file.
or- That's what I thought. I think that would turn a lot of people off if they had to fill it out every
Oh,
time.
sure.
But over here, it has date and time taken and when it's gonna be returned, so that has to be changed every time.
But I also think that we've given the manager the authority that he can
override that. anyway.
override that.
Special circumstance.
Yeah, and I would say a regular customer would be a special circumstance.
Well, I still got the logbook, I can write it down in there.
Well, we would be keeping these on file, so, yeah, we don't wanna just throw them away. If, we can go in and make modifications to the date and the time to the indemnity agreement.
Have you had any problems with the present system?
I have not.
Have we ever had a car tore up?
Not that I'm aware of, not since I've been here in the last 30 years.
Even if you got the
Didn't have a car worth
airplane
tearing up
number,
for a while either.
might be a rental.
But even the old clunkers that we had, nobody ever tore them up.
I know.
We had a really nice Lincoln town car out here for a long time. Nothing was ever happened to it.
And I'd like to remind everybody that one of the reasons that this has come up, one of the reasons that this came up is because we were also checking out the car to people that didn't have a plane, weren't a pilot, and didn't have a plane here on the airport.
That's a good point.
But I think that was a matter of miscommunication.
It was a special circumstance.
It was a special circumstance.
Even if it wasn't, assume it was a problem, wouldn't that be something where we'd change a policy, not
But the-
necessarily need?
But the
form?
airport manager had
Yeah.
reviewed that situation.
Yeah,
and
no, I
given the
understand
okay.
that particular one. I was just saying, if there was an instance that it was being misused, it seems to me like we need a policy change, not a form to fill out. We just need a policy against doing it that way. But I'm not opposed to the form either, just.
The form, the reason we were addressing the form is because that was going to be our policy, and that we were going to have this filled out by people checking out the form, checking out the car. If this isn't something the board wants to do, then we can
Get something different.
we can go do something different. But
Is there
one thing I do think is the airport has been very lax on policy on numerous things over the years.
Is there anything in here that anybody has heartburn about?
Well, he didn't like
Well,
the 4
I mentioned
hours
those
and
things that I didn't
something else.
care for.
He didn't like number 4 and
Number
the
three.
number 3, which really don't.
I still think though that if somebody says, hey, look, I've got, businesses
Need to go to Cherokee.
to Alva Vet Clinic, which is right outside the city limits, Greg can say, go for it.
If you say you need to run to Oklahoma City, so, that's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
I mean,
Well, just leave out in the Alva city limits. Use the car, limited to short trips around Alva. And then it's taken care of.
I don't have any problems with anything as it's written, but
So your 4-hour thing is basically overnight use? That's what you're concerned. But you don't feel comfortable with the manager making that a session?
Well, what if somebody was coming in here after the hours? They would read this and say, oh, I can't use that car. And they'd have to make other arrangements.
I know I've used the courtesy car at the Grand Lake Airport, maybe 3 times, because they gave me permission to go across the border and shoot weddings in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And so I refueled faithfully because they were kind and they allowed me to do that. I would
Did
have
you
landed there had I not been able to.
Did you ask somebody though?
Yeah, I called in advance.
So,
See, that's
and
my
I think
thing.
that's
If
where we
you're
differ.
gonna
I
be
think
there
most people
overnight,
do.
you're gonna call, and
Yeah, nobody's
if you
gonna-
don't, I don't think anybody's gonna harp on you for taking the car. He's gonna be here in the morning and approve it, and
I don't think there aren't very many pilots that are going to take off and just assume there's going to be a car available. They
Yeah.
call
I
ahead,
don't
in
think
which you
I've
would
ever
be
had
getting that
anyone
permission.
Take one at night that didn't call me
Yeah.
since I've
I
been.
mean, I would think that would be extremely uncommon. I'm not saying it can't happen, but
Especially since now they're parked in the equipment shed, so, some people are not even aware that we have them.
I'd make a motion to approve as presented the courtesy car and indemnification agreement.
Did you have anything besides 3 and 4?
That was the main things.
And the thing on 4 was mainly overnight.
Yeah. The snacks and beverage may knock out them going to the Sonic or to the McDonald's to grab a bite to eat.
the,
I'm just one person, so it's whatever you guys want.
the motion on the table, do we have a second or a different motion?
Well, I was trying to think of a way to amend 4, and I was going to amend his motion.
Okay. I'll give you
But
time.
I can't think of a way to amend 4.
You'd have to let it die for lack of a second, then make your own motion.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that's popping in my head is probably not good is just don't use your car no more than 4 hours between the hours of 8 and 5. And then it's not, takes away the overnight aspect. I mean, it eliminates the,
Well, I mean, if you guys are all fine with it, well, I'm just one person. So,
this is, so if something's not working, we could come back later and amend this thing without any issues. I'll second Wes's motion.
Okay. And moved and seconded to approve the airport courtesy car and indemnification agreement as written. If we could have a roll call vote.
Miller,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Logston,
no.
Washburn,
Yes.
and Turner.
Yes.
Okay, on item 10, discuss and vote to accept the Alva Regional Airport 5-year capital improvement plan. Assuming you have that, Joel?
Yes, and you should have had a copy of that in your packet. What the deal is that Greg and I recently met with engineers and FAA to file our 5-year CIP plan. This has to be done, this has to be reviewed and presented to FAA on an annual basis. We do modify it annually. And for the upcoming year, the current year's plan is our taxiway extension. But if you recall, when we were discussing that, cost came in so high that we're going to have to also use part of our 2016 entitlement as for reimbursement on that project. Once we get that total reimbursement out of 2016, our plans currently, as discussed at the board, and we've made note of, to design the construction of the turf runway. In 2018 would be to construct the turf runway. 2019 we would bank the money. For 2020 to do parallel taxiway A lighting, or maybe some taxiway and apron repairs, or construct a south apron. But that would be 2020. Those are not prioritized at this time. And again, we do revise this annually, and this is what we gleaned out of the discussions from the board, that our plan would be for the next 5 years. If we decide to step in over the next year or so and do self-perform some of these items, then some of the items in year 20 will certainly bump up. Or we will reprioritize items as we discuss them at the board. And this is just to get your acceptance or acknowledgement of that plan.
Two things I'm curious about.
Yeah.
One is parallel taxiway A lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, isn't that the old runway?
Mm-hmm.
And we just took the lights out of there.
Because it's all on one circuit, and it was going to require so much. It was going to require the cost on redoing that circuit was going to well exceed our budget for this year. The engineers have identified that if we are going to light that taxiway, we are going to have to completely revamp that lighting and the spacing of those lights.
The lights had to come into the runway. They're going to have to cut. If I remember right, they were going to have to cut into the runway
That's one.
because it was too wide.
They have to go where they're located now, the
Yeah.
reflectors are, right?
See, that was the cost, made the cost prohibitive. That's the reason they had to be removed.
$754,000.
That's why we didn't.
I'm
do it.
sure that's what they.
That's their estimate.
Yeah.
But the deal is too, is right now, all of the circuitry, or the majority of the circuitry for the runway is on one circuit. So if something happens, runway's dark, everything's dark. And that's part of the cost on this, is to put that extra lighting on a different circuit.
I see. So there's more than just.
There's more than just lights along the taxiway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're going to have to move the lights into the asphalt,
Yeah.
cut into the asphalt to install the lights.
Oh.
Basically, where the reflectors are at now.
Yeah, and that asphalt's probably what, a foot
'Cause
thick or more?
What's that?
That asphalt's probably a foot thick or more,
Probably.
18 inches maybe.
Because didn't Garver go to try to get a variance from the FAA on that, and they wouldn't grant it?
Yes.
Right.
They wouldn't give us one.
They wouldn't give us one to leave the lights where they were, so we could just use it like
That's the
that.
reason we had to go dark. One of the reasons we had
Space
to make that
before.
dark.
So it's, that's part of our argument back to the FAA is you said no, so fund it.
Okay.
Really, I mean,
Yeah.
they're the idiots, excuse me, but they're the idiots that did that. So
Don't
Yeah, I
send me
agree
out
with you.
either.
they can they need to give us the money to do it the way they want to then, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Just even designing the turf runway, $76,000.
Now $400,000 total to build a turf runway.
Well, we've had a lot of discussion about that in the board. We've had a lot of discussion about that outside, in individual groups and with the engineers. And we may have some options there that are better for us than FAA funding. If we were to seek FAA funding for the reimbursement of that, this is the engineer's estimates on what it would cost us.
Okay.
Okay.
We would be able to do a lot of that work ourselves, couldn't we? Just, I mean, if we worked with the county again, to get them to do a lot of that
There's
work.
options. If we did it by ourselves, we'd still do it to FAA standards, but we would control everything and they don't have to sign off on it. See? So there could be some options there we need to investigate.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the reason that's listed where it's at, because we are actively talking about what some of those options would be and what would be the most cost-effective way for us to get that turf runway constructed.
Joe Don, I touched on this briefly because I've been having almost every flying breakfast. I have people now ask me what the status of that is since I had requested those letters. And I had a significant amount of letters and things come in. And so I was trying to get an update. And so, this may be a way to expedite this process and reduce the costs involved.
Be great.
And provide us an alternate runway, for some of the safety issues that we've had out here over the past 2 or 3 years because we didn't have this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But this, from what I recall, from the first time I sat down with Garver, and we did this pretty much just following, with the exception of the bump up of the taxiway extension down here, this is pretty much following what we had laid out initially, 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Y'all laid that out.
Something like
Pardon
that.
me, this is what I've been working
So-
on since I've got here.
So, I mean, from what I recall and see, there's nothing new here.
Okay.
It's the same sequence as what we've had before. Costs may change, because as time goes along, that seems to change.
Okay.
So you need us to approve this?
Yes,
Does this go to the city? Do we need to recommend approval or we
No,
approve
this
this?
is approved by this board.
Yeah, we just.
I move that we approve the 5-year capital improvement plan as presented for 2016 through 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 5-year capital improvement plan as presented. If we could take a roll call vote.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Longston,
Yes.
Washburn.
Yes. Okay, on to item 11, discussion and action to recommend change order number 1 from Nash Construction and Garber Engineering on the number on the paper in the amount of $188,830 to the negative for approval to the Alva City Council.
Now, this will be a recommendation to the city council because the contract with Nash is actually with the city, not the airport. That's the reason it's a recommendation. But this falls in line with what we talked about when the contract came in and we decided we were going to self-perform some of that work. We basically had to accept our bid the way Nash had presented it, which was $700 and something thousand, with the change order that's being presented here for the dirt work that we pulled out, that we've talked about, and we've been self-performing up until now. So this was all getting that project going in a manner that is affordable for us to take advantage of.
So I missed that particular meeting. So in this reduction that we see here of the 188,000, to bring it down to what, the 570,000?
570,000
Is, how much is our grant from the FAA?
Our grant is for the
70?
570,000.
So we're close to what we're going to be
Yeah,
refunded
we're
on.
working to get that down. That grant gets us down into that range for that grant.
Okay, so all we owe extra on right now that we're not being funded on is the mat and the gravel and the dirt work that the county did? Is that right? And that's what we're going to do in 2016 That 73,000 that was on the CIP
No.
plan is reimbursing
No.
that extra
We're
amount?
self-performing that.
Okay,
Now, the grant money, we have 500 and, I can't remember the dollars, I don't have.
I understand.
We have, by this reduction, it gets us down into the range of our
yes,
grant that we had. This is what we had to do to be able to make that project
yes,
affordable for us.
I understand.
Now, we will be, you know, the gravel's gonna cost us extra, yes, it goes, we can apply for any kind of reimbursement, but once we reach the total over this next 2 years,
Mhm.
we're done.
On this
that-
570,
Yeah,
right?
so if we go, if, let's say the rock that we just had to buy, this 290 tons.
Yes,
Is when all the costs come in and we're in excess of grant funds for that rock, we've bought the rock out of pocket. Our
Okay.
match has gone up.
right. Well, then maybe I misunderstood you. On this 2016, on the CIP plan, you said this 71,000 is reimbursement for the 2015 project.
That's the
That's
overage.
the taxiway extension project, the whole project.
But that's on
way
top
we-
of the 540-some thousand, right?
No, that's included in the 540.
It is, okay, that's what I need to know, okay,
Yes.
that's what I was wondering. All right.
That's included in the 570,000 or whatever grant
All
match
right.
we got.
So that's not above that, so we
No.
can't recover mat, gravel, that kind of stuff
Unless-
out of that amount?
Maybe not, maybe not.
Okay,
Depends on how our other costs.
all right, that's where my confusion was, I thought this was above the
Oh,
540,000.
No, I'm sorry, no.
Okay, all right, thank you, that's what I was needing to know.
Yeah, I misunderstood that too. Okay. We have a,
So is this reduction the amount that you was expecting, higher or lower? Or?
This is the amount that I was expecting.
Okay.
This was submitted to us as part of their formal bid, which was $705,852.
So
This is the dirt work part the county's doing.
This is the dirt work part that the county is doing.
Right.
So I just want to make sure everything's on schedule
Sure.
as far as we know. Okay,
Yeah,
all right. Sorry for all the questions, but I needed to know.
that's okay.
entertain a motion.
No problem.
I'd move we recommend approval.
Okay.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to recommend change order number 1 to the Alva City Council. Could we have a roll call vote?
Turner,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes.
Longston,
Yes.
Washburn,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Okay, on to item 12, remarks and inquiries by the airport board members.
I have a list. Unless anybody else wants to go first.
I just have one. Over by the round top, there's some blue stakes in the ground, and it looks like there's water. Is there a water leak over there
Yes,
again? Because didn't we just fix one right there?
yes.
Okay.
I was wondering if we couldn't maybe have a diagram of the work that we're doing posted in the terminal someplace where the public and the local pilots could see what we're doing and what we're proposed. Our proposals are what we plan on doing. Like, you know, the taxiways and
You
where the
have,
hangars will be and
you have
that
a
sort of
copy of
thing.
the plan for the.
I've got a copy of these plans, from what I hear Terry asking, I kind of think the stuff I have is going to be rather busy and hard to tell what we're.
Might be too technical.
Yeah.
It's something kind of simple layout. Do you have something
Regardless,
down?
surely Garver has this digitized where they
Yeah, I can talk to
simplify
Garver about getting something like that.
Well, like those ones we had when we had option A, B, C, D that one time.
Mhm.
They had some pretty simple drawings in there that it, showed where the was the.
I'll
next
pull
one
that.
gonna
I'll
be
pull that
located.
stuff out and we can look at it and see what we can get
You
done.
get a copy made
It's
put on
not,
the wall.
you know, it's not
Yeah.
that required, but I think it would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right on the flag light?
My last 2 weeks or 3 weeks has been a little hectic. I've not talked to Daryl about that. I was last time I talked to him, I said, just go ahead and do it, we'll find the funding for it privately.
On this land swap that you brought up the last time and talked to us
I'm
about,
glad you brought that up, because I just thought of that, and I had forgotten about that in the city council stuff, but.
do we, I guess, you talked about something east and north of the terminal building, right?
Mhm.
That they were swapping for? Is that gonna come back, that, if I remember right, that's coming back through this board then, right?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
I expect to have that on the next agenda.
Okay. Because I was curious, because I saw it approved in the paper by them, and it wasn't on this agenda, so I wasn't sure where.
Yeah, no, well, they have approved it, and when we presented them options, there were a couple of different options that they would like to have had. There was a swap for the land, where it fits within our airport layout plan. They chose the one that they wanted. I've asked for legal descriptions of that so that I can come back and have the legal documents brought up,
Okay.
and then I will bring those back to this board.
Right. But they understand that the closer they get up to here, the more the mission of the land is toward aviation, right?
My understanding is everything along this frontage,
Everything, yeah, I mean, everything on the east side is
Aviation-related.
supposed to be strongly aviation related.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's what, yes. and
I just want to make
that's
sure that they
stressed.
are aware of that they, okay.
Yes. And the option they have chosen is because they evidently have some
Interest in it.
aviation interest.
Okay. Have we done anything yet on the hangar fueling policy? Did you have any luck getting
I
that?
have not had the opportunity to
manual?
go through some of that. I've asked Greg to kind of look at some of that stuff. I have not had a chance to go
Okay.
through any of that yet.
There's a aviation fuel policy that was approved by the airport board 15 to 20 years ago.
And that,
So we already
Covers.
had one a while back.
Covers fueling of airplanes. It also covers bringing fuel onto the airport from other sources. It also provides provisions for discounts for local pilots buying fuel. Approved and signed off by the airport manager and the chairman back in '97.
might get a copy to Joe Don.
I've never seen
that.
Neither one of us have ever seen any of that documentation.
Well, I know Dad, I've got Dad's whole file system, and I have almost everything that they've. Yes, do you need to get your, do you have no files like this that we need to supplement you on?
No, for the airport, I have no files on policies for the airport
Okay.
at all.
All right. I'll get with
talks
Dale
about-
and we'll see what we can dig up to provide you on that then.
Yeah, it limits, talks about storage of fuel in hangars and in jerry cans and things like that.
Okay?
So,
What would the policy be if none of that's on record or on file?
If it was adopted by this board at one point in time, it's still an active,
Okay.
and it's never been retracted, it's still an active policy.
Okay.
Maybe something, when did you say it was?
it's in '97.
97, so it's.
Why don't you and I get together and see if we can get their files complete on this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Be great.
And then, are you looking at an auction in the spring?
We're looking
For this
at
brief.
auctioning at some point. We've got a few items around on some of that stuff. It may be more beneficial for us to just take sealed bids on it instead of hiring an auctioneer, unless we can go to an auction company that has more equipment than what we're going to have. We're kind of looking at our options right now.
There's some scrap iron, junk scrap steel parts down around the round top. Does the city have a scrap pile?
If it's
Is it?
if it's scrap and it's trash, we can get rid of it. If it's something that has a value to it,
Yeah.
we need to declare it surplus to be sold.
Well,
it's all
there's
scrap.
worn out grater blades and
Yeah.
broken T-posts and watered up wire and
Yeah, when we would,
stuff that's,
we probably don't have a place readily available today to go with that. When my transfer station gets open, a new transfer station gets open, one of the plans for that transfer station is to have a roll-off box for scrap iron for the city or community-wide to just go dump it in there, and then we can disperse, we can get rid of it from there.
That's all I had.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, we'll move on to remarks and inquiries by citizen guests. Okay. John, nothing else?
You covered me.
Okay.
With the
All right. That seems like everything. We'll call this meeting adjourned.